Greetings from the year 2021, crackheads of the future. It's me, T Fuller, here with another chat because honestly, I just need to chat. Um, yeah, it's a week. Um, so I have some stuff that I've read, and I just felt like talking about it. There's going to be tons of stuff that I read still this week. I've got a nice pile of things beside me here. A nice little stack of books that I want to get to this week, including that sucker. Including I went for it. I had picked up issue number 3, so I figured I'll pick up. Pardon me. I'll pick up issue number 1 and 2 and give it a shot because I do want to check out that story. I'm very curious. I'm still looking for number 1 of this, but I went and picked up some of my comics from last week at one of the places I have a small pull list at, and because I just to get out of the house and go for a drive kind of thing, and I just need to look for number 1 because I have number 2 and 3 now. I started in on this last night. And I was watching a video with Shaheen. Can't remember what his channel is, but he talks to I can't believe I'm blanking on Ron Turner, right? Yeah, Ron Turner. I can't believe I blanked on his name. Mr. Ron Turner and his son, and the gentleman who does the write up here, John B. Cook. Was also in the interview, and he was talking also about the weirdo anthology that he had put together, or the collection rather. So they were talking about this, and I started dipping into it and started reading. I'm not I haven't been drawn in with the first couple of stories. I haven't been like, oh yeah, here we go, you know. So I'm a little. I have to admit, I'm a little reluctant. I'm a little hesitant of this, but I am going to tackle this week. What else am I going to tackle? I started reading this from. This was something that I had ordered from Domino. It was forgotten from the order that got sent. So Austin was kind enough to shoot this over to me, toot sweet, like really quick. And it's pretty fun. Basically about there was a psychotronic film magazine, basically, and there's some cartoonists talking about kind of psychotronic films and just films that are that they love, that are more in the exploitation and low budget and that sort of area. There's also an excellent article. I started it on this one last night. I'm about halfway through the book about the infamous Faces of Death, which was huge for me growing up. I imagine it was for a lot of people. It was definitely this legendary movie out there that you heard all sorts of stuff. And I do remember vividly the first time I saw it with some of my friends and just kind of the impact that had. I've got a few of the Mondo movies as well too. Mondo Cane, Mondo Africa, or Africa Adio rather, and then something else. I don't remember what the other ones are. They have a couple of box sets. Yeah, it's great. This is a great little zine. So that's been a fun read so far. The other thing that I started in on the other night, and I was nodding off of my chair, not due to the fault of the book. This is great so far. I'm really digging this. I love Craig Thompson's style. I haven't finished it yet. So this is another one that's on my slate. And actually, I may have mentioned it before. If this one goes over as well as I think it might with me, because so far so good. There are other issues at one of the comic shops here in town. I don't know if they carry number 2, but I'll be poking my head in there to see. I had pulled this off the shelf and read the introduction by Mike Kaluta, and that's as far as I got. I did order this before I had finished the previous comics that I had. This was the first series, and the second series I didn't enjoy. I still haven't read the final issue because that was also with this order. I just can't bring myself to kind of dive into it, but I do want to give this another shot, this first book, and then finish off that second volume too, just to get a complete kind of taste of it, because I wasn't blown away by it, but I do still want to give it a shot. And finally, on the to be read stack, I am going to, I don't, now that I'm looking at this, I maybe need to rethink this. I don't know why I've stacked this with challenging reads, because this is another one that the previous, thank God I came to talk to you all and sort these things out. The previous volume of this that I read, it was a tough slog just because it was so wordy. This one doesn't appear to be, well, never mind. So I don't know why I've put so many books that are going to be a challenge in this pile. I'm going to have to do some rethinking here and maybe thin that out. I do want to stack it with stuff that I'm anxious to get to. I'm still doing the 2 pages a day. Earlier this evening, actually, I sat and fully absorbed 2 pages. This is going to be fun because I'm really enjoying this so far. I'm about, yeah, I'm going to be on page 28 and 29. I'm going to be December 31st, 1905 next. I'm loving reading this that way, to really just kind of focus on the strips themselves. And then I do have 4 volumes of those, so that'll be a project that will go on and on for quite a while. So what I read so far this week, a couple of really nice surprises. And again, some things that I took a chance on. This is one of them. Things Go Wrong by Jason Bradshaw, Paper Rocket Mini Comics. This is issue number 1 of, I think it's 3 issues. And I actually really enjoyed this. He is Canadian. Yay, Canadian. Jared, we have comic guys in Canada. So I enjoyed this. I haven't looked yet. I think he has a website in here. Somewhere there was. Hey, if you needed any more proof, it's fucking Canadian, eh? So this was enjoyable. Just this artist, and he gets a little bit of a sickness, and he goes to the doctor to figure out what the hell is going on after he kind of vomits what I'm assuming is blood all over the floor. Goes to the hospital and goes to the emergency rather, and finds out he has a parasite. And I love what they do, or what he does with some of these pages. Where did that page go that I just had? I'm dividing up the page like that with the full figure. I kind of like the way that looks. And I also love the way this doctor looks, especially in this panel. Looks like straight out of Tintin. Tintin. So I'm going to look for more of these. This was a lot of fun. This was a really nice little read. Another one that I thoroughly enjoyed, even more so than the silent issue of Ha Ha. This is Broken Land by Drew Morrison. What a great... Hey, there we go. I'm back. That was very strange. It just completely dropped out. That's never happened to me before. Where was I? Broken Land. Really, really nice art. A really great little story, even as sad as it is, about this little character. I'm guessing his name is Miso, who kind of starts his day jumping merrily over puddles of blood on the street, discovers a donut shop throwing out some garbage, and starts going through in hopes of finding some donuts. Eventually does find some donuts in one of my favorite pages. So you can see him focusing on the panel. There we go. Walking away with an armful of donuts, and we turn the page and we get a nice montage of him sharing donuts with some mushrooms, trying to share with a frog who jumps away, passing out donuts to putting one in the mail. Really, really good, really good. And of course, with a setup like that, things aren't going to go so well for him. So he goes to his job to punch in. And good evening, Gore Vidal. Goes to his job of what looks like just sorting through waste. And it just kind of gets worse for him there as he gets picked on and because he's daydreaming at his job. And then eventually gets put in the job of, you basically got to unclog the waste chute. And they, of course, forget about him and end up dropping him down, and it just goes from there. But just a really, really good story. This poor little bastard who just wanted to share donuts with people, does everything right in the world, and then still gets stepped on. Yeah, really, really great. I don't know anything about Drew Morrison, but I'm going to make it a mission to look up some more because that was a lot of fun. One that was fun. It didn't amaze me as much as I thought it would, but it was still pretty damn great. This is issue 1 of The Hand of Misery. In this issue, someone dies. So I guess there is, I should do that ad on the back there, thestinkhole.storenvy.com to get some more books and see what they have. I guess there are some public domain characters in here, including 2 characters called Nightmare and Sleepy. They're public domain. Find more public domain superheroes at pdsh.wikia.com. And you can download public domain comics at digitalcomicsmuseum.com. So that's where some of these characters came from. And then I'm guessing because there's some, is that Phantoma from what's its? Oh, I shall destroy all the civilized planets. So what the heck is Fletcher Hanks? The Fletcher Hanks books. So I think that's her. So I think that's who this is based on. There's some fun stuff that goes on in here as this creature kind of comes to suck the energy out of people and dissolve them, and meets our 2 kind of superheroes and pretty much quickly dispatches them. There's a couple of cool things that he does here. One are these pages. I love these pages with the kind of photocopied imagery in the background, taking that kind of Marvel, taking a photocopy of a cityscape and then just putting the animated or the cartoon characters over top of it. Comic book characters is the word. So that's really great. So this had some fun things going for it. I think there's another 2 issues possibly. So that was a pretty good read. I read 3 issues of Rain Like Hammers tonight. Got them in the mail. Excellent. You enjoyed them. Then reread 2 issues while listening to Gary Newman's Pleasure Principle. I think it makes a good soundtrack. Cool. I'll have to keep that in mind. That's good. I'm really glad you liked him. That's excellent. One that I don't know if I was not quite in the mood or I just or it was just nonsense. This is the newest issue of the one-man anthology Future, although there's some speculation that this one man might be multiple people. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I haven't looked into that any further, and I don't think I will. Oh man, I'm so good with this. Tommy Musturi. After a, oh my God, mildly terrifying intro, as he usually has in the front of this, the rest of it was, as it usually is, as Future has been so far, a bunch of seemingly disjointed missives from the future to us in the past, and vice versa, because we do get some. This was a good 2 pages because it ends with kind of a Little Nemo thing, especially with the mindset that I've been in lately, reading the Little Nemo stuff. We do get a strip with some beautiful art. I think a style that I haven't seen from him up till now, where we have some cavemen sitting and talking amongst each other, and he's seen the future and he's telling them some of the crazy things about like cars and things like that, digital devices and all of these things, and everybody is shocked and laugh and think it's ridiculous. So it does sort of put some of this particular issue in perspective and maybe the series itself. But I found this issue to be difficult in not really a fun way, if I'm honest. The other ones, I mean, the art is still a lot of fun. Um, I'm absolutely sticking with this till it's done. Like there's no question on my mind. I'm seeing this out. There's no doubt about that. But I did feel like this one didn't quite hit home for me. It was a little too, it's one of those things where it felt like it was starting to cross the line of like, hey, I'm just gonna put a bunch of random shit in here and it's gonna sound really tripped out, man. And hey, I'm really talking about something bigger that you just don't understand. Bro, you gotta be on my wavelength, bro. It was a little bit like that for me. But again, that very well might have been my mood. But honestly, it's still gorgeous, gorgeous art. And that's the back cover there. And on this glossy stock for the cover, I'm with it. Just that issue didn't hit for me as much as the other ones did. Speaking of things that didn't hit, let's just do these ones. Man, were these snooze fests. I think if you're going to dabble into this series, if you want to read one issue, I'd say read one issue. I'd say read issue 1. Issue 2 was a stinker right from front to back. And the only thing that issue 3 had going for it was Michelle Fife and James Stocco does a piece here. So not able to use his usual color palette, even though it's fairly close to what he normally uses. I just think that the tone of some of these stories, where's that one specifically? Yeah, this issue was just horseshit. For some reason, Martha, not Martha Wayne, that's what the hell is Kent? Kent Clark's mother is hanging out with her friends in a coffee shop, and Clark is already Superman and a teenager, and for some reason, I guess her friends are. I think what Nora meant is it's a blessing. Exactly, Martha. A blessing from on high that you and Johnny had a child, even if you couldn't, dot, dot, dot. So then she goes into what it's like to be a child, to have a child, whether it's born from you. Like, really, this is the premise for your fucking story? Some old woman hanging out with her old friends who now has a child who's a young adult, and they'd be still talking about this kind of nonsense. I don't know, man. It didn't hit. None of these stories hit. And there was also at the back of one of these a really extra like hand on hip, hey kids, only you can help and you have to be helpful and blah blah blah, and look what she did, this thing here. And again, maybe it's kind of poking fun at that for sure, but it had that tone in it that was like the kind of Superman as this motherfucker right here, basically. So it really just was not. It didn't do it for me. I'll show you the Michel Fife stuff though, because his art is phenomenal. But even the story, he didn't write it. He just did the art. But even this story didn't do anything for me. The only thing it had going for it was the art. And like I said, if these two guys weren't in this issue, this would be in the same boat as issue 2. The only thing that brings it up a little bit is the inclusion of their art. Like, look at this page. That page is fantastic. Like, it's really, really nice, really nicely laid out. His style is pretty incredible. But I don't know. Is there one more issue? It may be the thing of let's see who's in the issue, but I don't know if I'm going to be picking up, and I don't know if these are going to stay with me. Even though that art in that final one is pretty great. The stories were just stinkers. So pick up issue number 1 though. Issue number 1 is great. Yeah, I would say $10 misspent there, Gore. But Yeah, I hate when that happens because I think I could have spent it on two books, eBay. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the same way. I knew that I was taking a gamble though, because I'm not classically a Superman fan. I was taking a gamble knowing that it was probably going to be the art. What I should have done with issue two is at least had a look through it to see if there was some art in there that I liked, because even in issue two, there wasn't any art that really jumped out at me. And then finally, I went and picked up the main reason that I went to this shop was so that I could pick up issue number 3 of Carmen. And honestly, every single issue, it feels like it gets better for me. This is a strong, I feel like I'm going to do this year because I'm on this 500 comics of the year. I do feel like eventually at the end of the year, whenever I hit that 500, there will be some best of lists. This is going to be a strong contender for like top of kind of the big 3 best of list. This is such a good book. This issue was so great. I really liked it. I liked that we're getting a little bit more picture of it, and we're getting a little bit more of a picture of Carmen herself, and we're getting a little bit more of a picture of what's going on. Again, still not spelled out. There's still some mystery. This was such a great issue, even though I could see the twist coming, and I won't spoil the twist. I'm going to make sure that I don't do that. It didn't ruin it for me whatsoever. I still thought it was pulled off really well. We'll stick to the first half of the book, showing you pages. The art is gorgeous. The coloring is gorgeous. The page layouts are gorgeous. The story is just fantastic. I really, really like this book a lot. It's got such a great tone and such a great feel throughout. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for this to come out is where I'm at with it. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I liked how Carmen laid down the law about life for Catalina. Yeah, absolutely. And those last few pages were great. And just left her to her own devices. It's such a good book, seriously. The other thing that I did after the show on Sunday night, I listened to the Josh Baer interview on, damn it. You know what I got to do? I got to start writing notes he's been saying for the past 8 years that he's been on YouTube and has actually never done. Anyway, there was a Josh Baer interview on a podcast that Architectural Foam Panels had suggested in the last live stream. I'm sure if you watch this, please, I'll try to remember, but I don't remember these things. Mention it in the comments. It was great. It was a really good interview with him. It talked about his career and talked about what he was, his teaching. He's a teacher and has been for quite a long time, and how much he loves teaching art. And what kind of time he puts into his books. And he did talk about his coloring technique for Theth, which unfortunately isn't around here. He talked about that, and that was really cool to see. It's digital coloring, but instead of using a trackpad and kind of a pen, he uses his finger and does kind of layers of color with some kind of opacity, I guess, allowing you to see through it a little more, so those colors blend. And then when he wants to bring some things out, he'll erase one of the layers to bring out one of the colors. It was really interesting to hear, and just the fact of he just wasn't getting the results when he was doing hand done coloring real world when it translated to the printer. There was so many times he said that he was just disappointed in the final quality, so he wanted to tackle digital painting and digital coloring so he could then get what he wanted. He said that Theth, this Tomorrow Forever, he thinks is his achievement so far, that he loves the coloring in there. He thinks he's nailed it. He wants to kind of stick with it. And it's this nice balance for him of people that have a grasp on the techniques, but not to like a professional degree. You know what I mean? There's still some stumbling around that happens, and there's still some discovery that happens there. And I'm totally in that mindset. I think that's kind of the sweet pocket for making art a lot of the times, is in that kind of unsure of how to use the tools and what you want to do and what's actually going to happen. I think there's some really great stuff that can happen with that. Not saying that mastering something there can't still be great art, because of course there can, but it was just really interesting to hear his whole approach to it and what he was looking for, and how he just kind of forced himself to just sit in front of the program and just do it. I think I can't remember which one he was using. I don't know if it was Procreate or what it was, but just kind of sitting there and just doing it and figuring it out and fucking it up and taking a lot of time to do it. And honestly, it shows, because again, that coloring in that book is one of the highlights, if not the highlight of that entire book for me. I think it looks gorgeous, and I'm very excited to see what else he'll do with that coloring. He also did it for the RM collection. So the ROM stories that he did, they were originally single issues, and when they did a collection, they called it RM, and apparently he recolored it, I think is what he was saying, for that collected version. So I now know which one I'm going to focus on his website, try to get that collected version so I can see some more of that coloring style. So that was great to listen to as I was kind of sorting things out. That's it. That's the small stack that I've read. I'm going to keep them hanging around, because I'm sure I'll mention a couple of them again during the stream on Sunday, specifically Broken Land, not Superman. Thanks very much for hanging out, Aggressively Relaxing and Gore Vidal. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you on the weekend. Later.